Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. You may remove your jackets if you wish. First item on the agenda, apologies for absence.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councillor Brian Mansbridge, Councillor Leighton.
Any declarations of interest, please? We'll move on then to first committee report, item number 3, Statement of Accounts 2015-16, to consider the report of the Chief Executive, and I believe it's Councillor Phil Williams to take this.
I think so, Madam Mayor. Just have a quick chat with the leader then, because obviously between the two of us, it's a joint show. Right, page 1, obviously, paragraph 3.1, you can see from that the Accounts and Audit Wales amendments regulations require that the accounts be reported to Council by the 30th of September, hence the need for this special meeting. And over the page on 3.3, you can see that the provisional statement was prepared by and presented to Audit Committee on the 18th of July. You've all got that, I hope? Yeah? You can see the amount of work that's gone into that, and to prepare that by the Audit Committee the 18th of July takes a heck of a lot of effort, and can I at this stage commend Adele in particular and her team for the work they've done to put into this, because it is a tremendous amount of work, so congratulations to you all. And the good news is I'm told there's going to be a shorter timescale again next year. Anyway, the report itself is quite explanatory. I think you'll find that on paragraph 6 there's a comment about the fact that we've added an additional jointly controlled operations item in the accounts this year, and that's to do with the Central South Consortium. The table on 7.1 is self-explanatory. You'll see that we've got a £102,000 surplus for the year, but just above it you'll see a transfer to earmarked reserves of £4.047 million. So that in effect has helped us to look forward to the difficult times you're going to have in subsequent years. That £4.047 million is split between about 5 headings. We've had to put money in for a living wage reserve because we are now paying the living wage, as you know, and this is the proper living wage. We've got money in for a risk reserve to address any unavoidable in-year pressures. We've got a transformation reserve, which is the costs arising at the transformation programme. We've got an employee severance reserve in case, well not in case, should we be making redundancies in the future. And we've got what we call an efficiencies reserve, which helps us with future budget pressures. All necessary, whatever body is in control in April next year, May next year, I'm sure they'll thank the Labour Party for the work they've done. Of course, we probably will be the ones in control anyway, so that doesn't matter. The report goes on to give you the capital outturn, and you can see that we slightly overspent on capital. And then we've got the reserves positions set out in paragraph 7.3, which again shows that we've got reserves now at 4% of our annual turnover, which is a position we really want to be in. So that's the report, Madam Mayor. There are further items arising out of the accounts which will come up later on in item 4, but at this point I'm just going to invite questions and comments, and I'm going to move the recommendation on page 1 that the audited statement of accounts for 2015-16 being the financial year ended the 31st of March 2016 be approved. I move.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to second the Deputy Leader with the recommendations, and can I also thank Adele and her team for a huge amount of work put into getting us to where we are this evening. But I think we're in such a reasonable state of finances at the moment due to a lot of hard work from an awful lot of people. The moratorium, for example, on non-essential expenditure has worked. Improving departmental budget management is working. The Change Management Board and the Steering Group Challenge has certainly added an extra dimension as well. The Budget Board Challenge and the amendment to Minimum Revenue Provision Policy, along with the introduction of principles of service, outcome-focused redesign all now starting to kick in. So I'm happy to second the recommendations, Madam Mayor, and again, thanks to everybody, officers and members of this council for working so hard. Thank you.
Any questions, please?
Okay. Thanks. I'd like to thank the Deputy Leader particularly for his presentation tonight. I didn't agree with everything you said, Phil, but but no, seriously, you mentioned that the deadline for this report is being brought forward again next year. I understand it is quite a difficult task to get it done by now. There's got to be a time where the deadline has got to be reasonable, and I don't know how far forward it's being brought for next year, but I'm wondering, is it worth us contacting the Welsh Government and saying, hold on, you're making this a rather impossible task for our staff?
Thank you, Alan, for your comments. We can always make representations, obviously, Alan, but I think this is an immovable feast as far as they're concerned. This is what they want, this is what they require. In terms of good reporting, it's something that we should be following anyway. The Audit Committee did discuss it when they met earlier on, and they, not today, earlier on this week or last week, was it? And they recognise that there might be a resource issue, but that obviously will be dealt with by Steve during the course of the year and will be brought back to the committee if there is a resource issue. I hesitate to say it, but with the team we've got at the moment and with Adele growing from strength to strength from year to year, I'm sure we will make the deadline again next year. If they go any shorter, though, I think well, we might as well close the accounts now, ready for the end of the financial year. You know, it's that tight now. But I think we'll manage one more. We will manage one more, I think, and hopefully that'll be the last in terms of tight timescales.
And, you know, that is my concern, like, you know, is that there is going to be a situation where the time schedule, that's it. So you've explained that now, thanks.
Any further questions, please? Any comments? Howard?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of the Chair of Audit, who's absent this week, and Deputy Chair, I'd like to echo the Leader and the Deputy Leader on the Dell on the work on behalf of the Audit Committee. Thank you.
Any further comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 4, Letter of Representation 2015-16, to consider a report to the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I refer you to page 7 and paragraph 3, where you can see from 3.1 that as part of completion and audit of the annual accounts, we do need to prepare this letter of representation, which reassures then the auditors that we've complied with what they require of us. What I wanted to do in respect to this, Madam Mayor, is actually refer you to the letter, because if we refer to page 13 of the papers, I needed to refer to that because that was an item that was actually raised by our auditors at the Audit Committee, and I just want to make sure people are clear about what this means, because it might look a little bit strange, but really the essence of this is that generally, if there are any misrepresentations, and I don't like that word, it's errors really in compiling the accounts, that's what you're talking about, of a material amount, and we're talking about figures in excess of £1 million here. You know, we're talking about £114 million turnover. So any material ones will be dealt with during the course of the year, but now and again there'll be queries raised which are not considered material, even though they're big sums of money. And you've got there 4 items which are 515, 418,000, 227,000 and 208,000 pounds. They are not material, so from the authority's point of view, we've taken on board each of the comments in that letter, but during the course of the year we'll obviously work on the areas that need working on, and then the amendments will be effected during the course of the closure of the 2016-17 accounts. But I wanted members to be aware that don't get frightened when you see the fact we've got a surplus assets overstated. That's, as I say, that's basically accounting at the end of the day. There is an issue with the housing revenue account, which will be dealt with during the course of the year to try and tidy that up, because that's an outstanding debt that's been there for some time now, so we need to tidy that up. Then the other two is one's understatement, the other one's an overstatement. I wanted to stress to members that that really is part and parcel of the process of closing down. Don't panic over it. It was discussed at length, Howard, in the Audit Committee and others, and so the Audit Committee are fully au fait with what's going on. That is due process in terms of the receipt of the accounts is concerned. Audit Committee are the ones who really need to sit there and drill the officers and myself in respect of the accounts. That's taking place this year, and as I say, following the meeting, Audit Committee actually accepted the accounts as come before us tonight. So having said that, Madam Mayor, and I will take questions if members have any questions, I'll move us back to page 7. And the recommendation is that the representations regarding the 2015-16 financial statements be approved and communicated to the appointed auditor. I move.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Any questions, please? Comments? Lisa?
Yes. Okay, so I'm not Councillor Gareth Jones, however. Thank you for letting me use your mic, Gareth. No, it's just acknowledging what the Deputy Leader just said, because I did have some questions around some of those figures on page 13. Undoubtedly, you know, a figure of 1,368,000 is a significant figure, but he's answered those for me. So just wanted to acknowledge that, and again, acknowledge the work of the officers as well. You know, yes, you sometimes find some errors, if you like, or misrepresentation in that respect, but it's nice to see that that's being dealt with, and we'll have that in Audit Committee for 2016-17 financial statements. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any further Tony?
Sorry, pressing the wrong button, which is not unusual for me, is it? No. I can confirm that these figures were challenged at length at the Audit Committee, and we received assurances that everything will be au fait next year, to which I said, I hope so, because I won't be here.
Any further comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item 5 then, Annual Governance Statement for Financial Year 15-16, to consider the report of the Chief Executive.
This is number 3 in the annual set of documents you received from us, and this one's a straightforward one. The statement is attached. I'm assuming members will have read it with interest, and if they have any questions or comments, I'll take them, but for the time being, page 15, recommendation is that the Annual Governance Statement 15-16 be approved. As I say, more than happy to take questions and comments from members.
Second, Madam Mayor, and in seconding the recommendations, can I just say that of several of the issues that have been identified in the statement, which looks back obviously at the previous year, it'll be good to see that next year that a number of issues that we've been grappling with for quite some time now will have been addressed. For example, the Estin report, the WAO corporate assessment, scrutiny arrangements, and internal audit staff resources as well. So that's good to see that they won't be in next year's report. So that's very good news.
Any questions, please? Comments? Lisa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the absence of my colleague, Councillor Richard Thomas, I'd just like to point out some of the wording on page 13. It would be remiss of me, 35, it would be remiss of me under financial pressures not to acknowledge how refreshing it is to see the wording in there, reduction in funding from the Welsh Government, and not, as my colleagues normally say, Westminster. And of course, I remind them that it is Labour in charge, albeit with the odd Lib Dem in Cardiff. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
But the settlement is handed down from Westminster.
Yes, unfortunately, there are no independents in Cardiff either.
All right. We can only speak now. None of us know about the future.
Any further comments? No. Can I take it to the vote then, please?
Oh.
As carried, thank you. Item number 6, data protection reform, the General Data Protection Regulations 2016.
Okie dokie doke. This is one quite a detailed report, and again, I'm hoping members will have read it because it's an important, very important aspect for us to consider. I have actually sent all members earlier on this afternoon, apologies for that, an update on this report, and I'll just quickly talk you through it. So I'm assuming that members will have read the report, and you can see the requirement upon us now to appoint a data protection officer. That's like the timetable for closing accounts. That's something that we can't argue about. We've got to do it. Simple as that. It's statutory. So we've got to make that appointment. But the difficulty is that the regulations come into effect in 2018. 2018, yeah. But between now and then, there's a real shed full of work as per Section 4 to be done. And the current data protection person needs, with her skill, because she's an extremely skilled person, now needs to get on with that piece of work. So what the report does, it sets out all that piece of work, etc. But it's a little bit silent, and I apologise for that, is until you come to the finance table, that there is actually a bid in, and again, something which I totally support for the data protection officer during the first 12 months of doing all this work she has to do in respect of getting us ready for the regulations. The work that she currently does is quite extensive, so there is no way that she could actually manage the day-to-day stuff, which are the inquiries that come through to us from the public and others, and officers and councillors actually, which are freedom of information inquiries. She can't do that and do all this preparatory work as well. And just give you a feel for the sort of work. When we first had FOIA, as I call it, on the scene in 2006-07, we had 120 requests for information. Last year, 2015-16, we had 1,052 requests for information. That's a lot of work for somebody to do, and a request might just sound like a request, but some requests can be done in an hour, others will take days to do so. And don't forget, at all times, the clock is ticking in requirements for us to respond by a certain time within the Act. So really, again, there's no hesitation from my point of view in saying I totally support that we need a backup officer, and therefore, if I refer you to the note I sent out this afternoon, this backup officer will actually be in post initially for 12 months. The view there is that once we've done all the prep work, etc., we might not require the level of support. I suspect that's not going to be the case, but we'll cross that bridge when we are back in control again in 2017. They're sleeping now, so we're okay. So the proposal before you, Madam Mayor, is obviously on page 39 and 40. And that's paragraphs 2.1 to 2.3. And then I want to add 2 further recommendations, a new 2.4, that the creation of a temporary post, initially on a 1-year contract, entitled the Data Disclosure and Records Officer, be approved, and an appointment to the role be made in accordance with Council policy and procedures. And as I say, just to make sure that, just in case the worst happens and we're not in control, but that's not going to happen, I know that, in 2017, a further report will be placed before Council in the winter of 2017-18 in respect of progress on the implementation of the GDPR and any further consequences of ensuring compliance with the regulations. So move, Madam Mayor, again, open to questions and comments.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Any questions, please?
To Phil, actually, Phil, the filling of this post, would it be possible to give preference to a current member of staff, bearing in mind the situation we could have with redundancies?
The situation that we're actually working to with the trades unions is we've got a redeployment pool, and staff at risk and shown to be at risk are in that pool, and the first instance for any post to be filled are out of that redeployment pool. I am correct in saying that. Clearly, if the redeployment pool doesn't have staff of the calibre, we would then move into a wider advert within the authority and then possibly outside if worse comes to worse. But I suspect it'll go inside, and hopefully it'll be redeployment.
Any further questions? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 7, to deal with other urgent business or correspondence. There isn't any. To receive communication from Her Worship the Mayor, I have none. So that's it. Thank you very much for attending, ladies and gentlemen. Safe journey home.